Hello everyone, this is the Joy of Reading and welcome to a new video. In this video I would like to do a classic book tag I found on the page Books Like War. So let's go with the first question. What's an overhyped classic you really don't like? There are two. I really don't like Catcher in the Rye by Salinger. The protagonist, Holden Caulfield, just annoys me so much. This is a great novel. I'm not saying that it's not a great novel, but just I cannot bear him. And same for the second book, which is Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. The protagonist is so frivolous and I cannot connect with her on any level. Again, this is another great novel. I am not denying that, and I find Flaubert writes wonderfully, the descriptions are great, the characters are well built, but I just cannot stand Emma Bovary. Second question. Favorite time period to read about? I like history, so I like to read about any time period, but I especially like books which are set in the first half of the 19th century, specifically in France. So many of the books that I like the most are set in France between the end of the Napoleon era and the revolution in 1848. Third question. What is your favorite fairy tale? I had a book with lots of fairy tales from all over the world during my childhood, and my favorite one was definitely Rübezahl. Rübezahl is a folkloristic character from the Bohemian and Polish tradition, sometimes pictured as a demon and sometimes more like as a mischievous spirit. And I remember one particular tale where he met a poor carpenter who was wandering in the woods looking for food, and this carpenter was nice to him, and then Rübezahl decided to help him. And on the very same day, Rübezahl met a merchant who disrespected him, and he decided to destroy all of the merchant's belongings. The story was told in a particular funny way, and it still remains my favorite. Question 4. What is the most embarrassing classic you haven't read yet? So, I haven't read Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. I've always heard lots of things about this book, and I never really had the time and the will to begin reading it, but I am going to change that very soon. Question 5. Top 5 classics you would like to read soon? Well, I just spoke about one of them, Don Quixote. Another one would be 20 Years Later by Alexandre Dumas, which is the sequel of The Three Musketeers. I love The Three Musketeers. It's one of my favorite classics of all time, but I never had the chance to read 20 Years Later, and it's something I would like to do. Then I would like to read Fathers and Sons by the Russian writer Ivan Turgenev. I've read other Russian writers like Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, and I like them very much, but I never tried reading another classical Russian writer, and I would like to do that. Then I would like to read something by Elizabeth Gaskell, for example, Cranford. I hear a lot about Elizabeth Gaskell on BookTube, and I'm quite curious. And then the last one I would like to read is Martin Eden by Jack London, because I've read almost nothing by Jack London, and many people tell me that Martin Eden is a great novel, so I'm going to read that as well sometime. Question 6. Favorite modern book or series based on a classic? There is one book that I can think of, and that is Cassandra by Christa Wolf. This is a retelling of the myth of Cassandra from the Trojan War. It has very little to do with the mythological canon, and the character is given a very specific personality and views, and the book is really great. Question 7. Favorite movie version TV series based on a classic? The correct answer would be Sherlock by BBC, but it's a retelling more than an adaptation, so I would say, staying by Sherlock Holmes, that I love the Granada series with Jeremy Brett. I think Jeremy Brett was the best Sherlock Holmes of all times, and the series is very well done. Question 8. Worst classic to movie adaptation? Well, I have no doubt, The Great Gatsby. I really disliked the movie, and The Great Gatsby is one of my favorite books, but the movie just, no way. Question 9. Favorite editions you would like to collect more classics from? Well, in Italy there is this beautiful edition called Meridiani, so you usually have this huge book with the complete works of an author, and the book has such thin pages and a beautiful blue cover, and it looks so elegant and beautiful in a bookshelf in a library, so that's definitely my favorite edition, even if it's not very practical to read. Question 10. What's an underhyped classic you'd recommend to everyone? There is one book I can think of, and that's The Brothers Ashkenazi by Israel Singer. The book was published in 1936, so it's a modern classic. It was published together with, the same year of Gone with the Wind, and initially it was a bestseller, but then it went sort of forgotten, partly because the author died at a relatively young age, and partly because the author's brother won the Nobel Prize. But the book is really great. It is settled between the end of the 19th century and the Russian Revolution, and the mixture between the family history of the Ashkenazi brothers and the historical and political situation of the time is just great. The writing is wonderful. I definitely recommend it to anyone, especially people who like history and who enjoy family sagas. In a couple of days I will release a new video from my Dante series, so stay tuned if you are interested in Dante. Please subscribe if you like my videos. You can also find me on Facebook under the same name, The Joy of Reading, with the same logo, so it's quite easy to find me. And